Check. Oh, sorry about that. Check 1, 2. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our township meeting at February 10th, 2025. We'll call this meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In attendance tonight, we have Supervisor Erler, Supervisor Ekman, Supervisor Friedman, Supervisor Albert, and I'm Supervisor Birmingham, so we do have a quorum for tonight's meeting. Agendas are up here at the podium if you need a copy of tonight's agenda. Have all the supervisors seen the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll open it up for public comment. If you have a comment, 3 minutes up here at the podium. Just give your name and address, and the floor is yours. If you do have comments about Roman numeral number 4, David Friedman ethics violation, I ask you to wait until we get to that part, and then you can ask questions when Supervisor Friedman discusses that. But if you have public comment about anything else, we'll open it up now, and I'll start with public comment first. Supervisor Birmingham, and my public comment is a big congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles for winning the Super Bowl. I was hoping it'd be more of an exciting game. I think I fell asleep around halftime, and but hey, you know, I think the Eagle fans are happy everywhere that it turned out the way it did. So congrats to Philadelphia Eagles and all Eagle fans everywhere. Anybody else want to make a public comment at this time? We'll talk about that during the announcement section. The question from Ray Higgins was the slate belt community. You're talking about the municipal agreement and planned slate belt, yeah. So yeah, we'll talk about it and the announcements coming up tonight. Anybody else? Public comment, Ron. Nick, you're keeping.
Ron Angle, $52 million highway. I see you've taken public comment off of the end again. I was under the impression you were going to put that back on.
No, we have public comment one time, and like I said that I've mentioned at the other meetings, if you have questions during things on the agenda, you can ask questions.
Ask them at that time?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make a quick comment on planned slate belt. I've read it cover to cover, by the way. I would hope that everybody on the board had read it cover to cover, and you would understand what my prior concerns were about planned slate belt. The long and short of it is you really don't know yet what the expense will be. And in my opinion, and I'm not a professional at anything, but I did read it cover to cover, you certainly would need a municipal planner to look at it, and you certainly would need a good attorney to look at it to determine what effect this will have on your ordinances. Jonathan, you don't need to write this down. You probably have all these answers. I can't believe I'm giving you any answers. You did read it, did you?
Absolutely.
Good.
I always write down some points of public
you're
comments.
picking up on my points. All right, no problem. The long and short of it is, if you just look at one page in there, which I think is one of the more interesting things, is places like Penarjo and Plainfield had over twice as many people who were polled on what they thought about planned slate belt. And in reality, Plainfield has already dropped out. So I believe Mr. Friedman and Mrs. Hinkle were our two representatives or in the steering committee. Everybody else had 3 representatives. I was curious to know why we didn't have 3. But the long and short of it is I've come up with probably way more than 3 minutes worth of things that I could give you here. But the long and short of it is you do need a professional planner. You do need an attorney with experience, whether it be your solicitor who's very experienced or somebody else, to look at the legal ramifications and what you would have to change in your ordinances to make all this take effect. But again, you voted on this. You evidently had no idea what it was. It sounded like a great idea, and you said, let's do it. It's really not a great idea. It's going to cost a lot of money, wreak a lot of havoc, and nothing has been thought out on it. So I would hope when you bring it up later in this meeting, which you're saying you're doing, you'll take some additional questions. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Ron. So
And,
Ron, we're going to have a town hall about this, and that's what I'm going to announce during the announcement section. So I welcome you to bring the questions and the points that you've written down and come and share them with us.
Well, I'd like to thank Corey Ekman, who I talked to on the telephone and told her what my concerns was. And I think you should have a town meeting. You should have had the town meeting before you already voted on it. You have already voted on it, and I think you have a 60-day window to withdraw. So you need to be shaping up real quick or shipping out.
And for clarification, I contacted the chairman of the planning commission for a 3rd member. He never got back to me. I contacted the chairman of the planning commission to have him recommend or put a 3rd member on the committee for Plant Slate Belt, and he never got back to me because it is recommended that somebody from the planning commission be on the committee.
Well, they could have been on somebody from the planning commission, but my point is, even that doesn't qualify to the extent I believe you need qualifications. I believe your solicitor would be very knowledgeable about this. You need a professional planner, and you need an attorney who has a background in planning, zoning, and all this stuff, because Plan Slate Belt will drastically change your existing regulations, and you need to know what those changes are and what the cost would be. And I can assure you, the cost is way more than tens of thousands of dollars.
Thank you, Ron. Anyone else, public comment? That's it. Okay, moving on. Number 4 is the David Friedman ethics violation. I'll turn the floor over to David, Supervisor Friedman, and this is Supervisor Friedman's chance to address the public. He did it during office hours, which the public was invited to, had a good turnout, and I think that was, it's like a couple months ago, maybe 2 months ago.
A few weeks ago, I think.
Was it a few weeks ago? I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. But there were requests for him to address it here at a supervisor meeting. So Supervisor Friedman, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm just going to kind of reiterate what I had talked about at the office hours meeting. As you know, we had a text amendment, and I knew there was going to be controversy about it. So even before I was elected, I contacted the Ethics Commission, and I got advice of counsel from them. They told me to do 2 things: disassociate from the group and withdraw from the lawsuit. I did both of those. And in the course of withdrawing from the lawsuit, I sent a petition to the court asking to withdraw, and also in the petition was this statement: I now formally withdraw myself from participation of any kind, financial and otherwise, in the referenced appeal, and take further note that I have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of the appeal or in any subsequent court-ordered action that may be taken by the Upper Mount Bethel Township. And I received a reply, and the order was granted. Now, this order was granted in whole and not in part. There were no exceptions or conditions attached to this order. So, and there's also in the second-class code that states that a supervisor cannot be withheld from voting from a previous, where is it here? Oh, because of a previous opinion, official or unofficial. Now, knowing those facts, then after being said that I was going to be brought up on ethics charges, I saw that, and I also saw that I had a pecuniary interest. And I thought, there's nothing here. I mean, what did I do that I shouldn't have been doing? And that's why I said I would not resign. And that was it. It was probably foolish of me at the time, but, things didn't turn out like I wanted to. But after what I just said and the steps I took, I feel that no resignation is called for, because the one thing that they've specifically said is about the pecuniary gain. They have never come up with a pecuniary gain. In fact, they've stated that there's some legal issues if they did come up with a pecuniary gain. And if anybody knows the pecuniary gain I received, please tell me. What amount was it? How did I get it? Credit? Gift card? Or where did I put it after I got it? Checking account? Savings account? So that's another thing. Now, if anybody here was accused of something and they had no proof for that accusation, what would you do? And also, when, like I said, the lawyer for the Ethics Commission also manipulated evidence. He inflated the so-called, well, not the so-called, he inflated the fees from the solicitor. So they went by the time that I withdrew from the suit. In doing that, those fees went up to my so-called share of the thing was $1,600, which is over the de minimis. The Ethics Commission has a de minimis of $1,200. If those fees were correctly calculated, my obligation, so-called obligation, would have been $1,033.40. In his final adjudication, he also altered legal papers by taking out that statement I read about me not having any pecuniary interest. It's just a big blank space on that. And now let's see what this is what the Ethics Commission has to say. However, we shall not impose restitution or treble penalty. Now, treble penalty, let me read that to you. Treble damages. Any person who obtains financial gain from violating any provision of this chapter, in addition to any other penalty by law, shall pay a sum of money equal to 3 times the amount of the financial gain resulting from such violation into the state treasury. Treble damages shall not be assessed against a person who acted in good faith, reliance of the legal counsel. Remember, I told you that I had contacted the Ethics Commission, and they told me to do 2 things, which I did. Now, evidently, they weren't happy with the one thing I did about getting that petition granting my so-called absolution from not having any pecuniary gain. But when you have a fake good faith and you listen to advice of counsel, that is an absolute defense in any charges that the Ethics Commission brings against you. So I probably handled this wrong. I don't know. When I saw the evidence against me, I said there's no way that I think I did anything wrong. I probably acted on the spur of the moment. I was told by various people you shouldn't be commenting on this while the charges are still pending and everything's still going on. And I also contacted the head of the Ethics Commission. We had a conversation on the phone. She brought out 4 points. First point was she's not going to drop the suit. I didn't expect them to. The second point was they thought their lawyer did a good job by manipulating evidence and everything else. He probably did. The third point was I had legal counsel. that may remain to be seen. But the fourth part that really got my attention was she said, but she didn't have to pay anything. Right there, I think, precludes the fact that the pecuniary gain has never been realized. And that was the basis of their argument about what I did. And as far as the motion itself, you can't sue your own citizens for exercising their First Amendment right to redress government grievances. That's in the First Amendment. The other point was that one of the supervisors thought there was $100,000 in right-to-know fees. There wasn't. It was nowhere near that. And as far as the vote itself, even if I had recused myself, it was still a 2-2 vote and wouldn't have passed anyway. So, folks, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to resign. Like I said, I think I offered a pretty good argument. Maybe I should have written my own brief when I appealed to the court. I don't know. But I'll take any of your questions now if you want to ask them.
Yeah, please. Yeah, because we have viewers listening from home. So just name, just like a public comment, name, address.
Higgins, 580 Centerville Road. David, I'm glad you came out here and you're actually speaking on it now because it's important. And part of the problem was that there was no communication from you. And when people have questions and you're not answering the questions, then you lead them to think further into it. But I will ask you a few questions. First, you said your lawyer was not really representing you in the correct manner in the appeal.
Not only I said that, but the court said it itself.
Now, is that attorney the same attorney for the concerned citizens? Am I correct that that's the same attorney?
No,
It's not? It's a separate attorney?
not for the concerns. See, I don't even know who the concerns is because I had to disassociate myself with them. I think Mr. Spadoni might be representing one person, which I'm not going to get into there. I think he was involved in the authority issue, but as far as the concerned citizens, I don't know.
Okay. And then follow-up question to that. If you felt like your appeal wasn't handled correctly, why didn't you take it to the next level and appeal it again?
Because I was told the next appeal was to the Superior Court, and there's a certain criteria that has to be met until they'll even hear a case.
But
Whatever the
you
court
have
is.
the right to appeal.
You would appeal, but they probably won't hear it.
And I'll give you an example. As a businessman, I had one lawsuit in 35 years when I owned my car lot. Somebody tried to sue us over a car we sold. We went to court and we won. They appealed it, and the next court wouldn't hear it, and then they appealed it again because they felt they were correct. So until they worked through the whole process to make sure that they followed all the steps they could, they wanted to make sure that they had their fair say in court. And I just really don't understand why you wouldn't do that. If I'm innocent of something and you ask, you come at me like I've done something wrong, I'm going to go to the end of the earth to make sure you know I didn't. So that's the first line of questioning. And then the second line of questioning I have to you is, how do the people trust you now? You stood up there, said you would resign, and I was at this meeting. And you went at Bob Thiel and made him, it was nasty. And he was correct. You lost the appeal. So my question is, how do people now have faith that you can handle negotiating deals for this township? And if you were my employee and you gave me your word and you went back on it, you wouldn't be my employee anymore. So I'm wondering how the people of the town trust you now.
Well, like I stated, the main argument they had was a pecuniary interest. I never obtained a pecuniary interest. And if you, as you said, if someone accused you of something and there was no proof or evidence of what they were accusing you of, what would you do?
I would go back at that investigator, and I would get a better attorney. I would want that investigator to explain to me, like you're saying, that evidence was changed. If that were the case, then I would want that investigator or that agency to tell me why those numbers were changed.
He's no longer with the Ethics Commission.
Then the Ethics Commission should address it with you.
They should. I talked to the woman. Do you think the Ethics Commission is going to admit that one of their lawyers was maybe playing games with evidence?
Well, I just feel like I'm very glad you came out here now at this point, because I felt the people should hear from you. And I've tried to be pretty objective through this, not personally attacking you. It's more about the actions that transpired. For me, it's more so not the ethics violation. It's not holding to your word. And that really puts doubt in people's mind. So hopefully you being up here and answering other people's questions and them seeing you, maybe that will ease that thought. But I can tell you, it's definitely a question in people's minds. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Charles Baltic, 971 Laurel Hill Road, and I'm an elected daughter of the township. I do have some concerns about this issue, and I thank you, Supervisor Friedman, for your comments. It's not really very likely or possible that you could be forced to do anything that you didn't want to do. But I do address this to the other supervisors, and that is with this finding in the public record of a conflict adjudicated, you have the ability to make a statement about your view of the facts. And I think that would help the citizens of the township a great deal to understand where the supervisors who are not involved in this issue feel about it. So for instance, you could consider a motion of censure. I raised this with one of the supervisors in his office hours. So I think it's important that the township have a very good record of ethics and a record of leadership's commitment to ethics and a record of leadership's accountability to the citizens. So thank you. That's my comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about Supervisor Friedman at our office hours. I talked about it at a meeting. Supervisor Friedman, I feel, in my opinion, has been upfront the whole time about this. I was a supervisor at the time of this vote. Supervisor Friedman had said what he was going to do in terms of disassociating himself with the concerned citizens. He did that. He did go and get the opinion of PSATs. He tried to dot his I's. He tried to cross his T's. He said he could have handled it better, but I've known David for a few years now, many years, and before he was a supervisor, David kept me on my toes. You know, when I was trying to understand the text amendment in the beginning, he came to my office hours all the time, and he questioned me and said, well, what about this? What about that? And he kept me on my toes. And then when he became a supervisor, we had conversations, and I've always found Supervisor Friedman to be upfront, to be transparent, to have good integrity, to be honest. And if it wasn't the case, then I wouldn't be saying anything. But I want nothing but supervisors who try and do the right thing and do what they believe is best for Upper Mount Bethel Township. And I do believe that Supervisor Friedman does that. And he goes above and beyond. He cares about Upper Mount Bethel. He cares about the people. He's always the first one there when there's a tragedy in Upper Mount Bethel Township. He gives his shirt off his back. If I thought he was doing otherwise, and I thought he had other motivations, I'd be the first to call him out. I've done it to others. But I don't see that with David, and I know he's got Upper Mount Bethel's best interest. So that's my statement. Thanks, Charles. Anyone else care to say anything, supervisor-wise?
Well, Mr. Baltic, I did research the things that we spoke about, and I did think that a motion of censure was fitting just to show light on the violation through the court, which it failed for against. So that point was brought up, and it did not succeed.
Okay, so that was formally considered by the supervisors,
Correct.
and it was 4-1?
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Charles, can you come up here, please?
I apologize. It was 3-1.
okay, and so that was formally
Failed.
considered and turned down. And is there a reason why the people who voted against it? I've heard your point,
yeah.
Supervisor Birmingham, and it's very eloquent, but a motion of censure doesn't obviate how you feel about Supervisor Friedman. It doesn't take away all the good things he's done. It puts the supervisors on record to the citizens of the township in a formal way about how they feel about an adjudicated ethics violation. In the absence of doing that, and you're on record now as voting against it, It seems like you don't have a concern about that issue. This isn't about the rest of his life, it's about that particular issue.
Yeah, and if I thought he got a fair trial or a fair shake at this, I would have a different opinion on it. But I think he was being upfront, and just because a court goes against an individual's stance or argument doesn't mean the court is always right. We've seen Supreme Court cases come down. We've seen it with our current president. We've seen, if I thought the court actually got it right, I would say something, but I don't think they got it right.
John, I would just ask you, you've addressed the part of the ethics in your feelings, but you have not, nobody that sits up there has addressed the fact that he told us he would resign and then did not. And you sit up there, and we would like to think that all of you will stand by your word. And when somebody doesn't stand by their word, and the people that are sitting up there with him do not speak out about it, you're enabling somebody to go and do something that they said they would do or wouldn't do, and you're enabling it by not speaking out against it. You guys should be up there going, hey, we do like him. We do think he's good. But yes, he was, and I've yet to hear Mr. Friedman take responsibility and say, hey, I was wrong. Period. I was wrong. And you're right. Court cases aren't always go the way they should go. And the fact that he did come up here tonight and he is speaking to us is a great step. But none of the other people sitting up there have said anything about that part of it. And that's the whole character of a person. You're only as good as your word. When you tell me you're going to do something, John, I expect you to do it because I know you, and I trust that your word is good to me. But none of you have addressed that. So I'd like to hear what your thoughts and opinions from the other supervisors.
Yeah, I heard.
I have a question for Mr. Higgins. Did you tell people that I was going to use my pecuniary gain to pay my legal expenses?
No,
You did.
no. And to be honest with you, I didn't, until you said the amounts, I didn't even know what the amounts were.
Well, I have heard from a source that you were telling people I was using my pecuniary gain to pay my legal expenses.
To be honest with you, I would like to actually see where that gain was, because you're saying there wasn't a gain, and I'll take you at your word with that because I don't have the answer to that.
There was no pecuniary gain.
So I would not have commented on that. To be honest with you, I've tried to be pretty impartial with this. I don't like the fact that we have somebody sitting up there that violated ethics. I don't think it's a good look for our town. As a business person, I don't feel it. If it happened amongst my group of people, they would be gone. But really, where my problem lied was you saying you would resign and coming at Bob the way you did, and you two were very disrespectful to each other. And I keep saying if the two sides don't figure out how to get along, we will get things wrong instead of right. We have to be able to communicate with each other. Both sides of this room have to get in a room without screaming and yelling. Now, I heard when I left the office hours that it was pretty nasty. Now, when I was there, you answered every question I asked you. And I will give you the respect to speak to you the way I am now. I won't come at you. I'm not going to scream and yell like they did after I left that meeting. I don't think that accomplishes anything. I wanted you to come up here to have a chance to defend yourself and say, this is what happened. And you did that, so I appreciate that. But I also asked the others their opinion of what they feel about it.
Yeah, and I'll be the first one to say, David did say that. But then David, after I read the court opinion, and I didn't think he was getting a fair shake. If he got a fair shake and I agreed with the court opinion, then yeah, maybe you should stick to what you said. But if he feels, and I feel, that he didn't get a fair shake in court, then if your due process is denied, then I think he's got every right to stay. And even if one of the supervisors said you should go, it's only the governor who can remove him. It's yeah, but so what I'm saying is he doesn't feel he got a fair shake, so I don't feel he should have to resign. And if he says, you know, if he said one thing after him and Teal were going at it, you know, that's one thing. But I think we need David on the board. I think he does a heck of a job. I've seen him go above and beyond, and I could go through everything he's done since he's been a supervisor. I don't want him to resign.
To be honest with you, I've seen the same things since this has been brought up with different things, with the fire over at Evergreen.
If you could come up here, Ray. I'm sorry. There's people at home.
We've seen a lot of this ourselves, and this is why I wanted him to come up here and have a chance to defend himself. But the fact that it took this long for anybody up there to really address this is why it's gotten to this point. If this would have been addressed immediately, you probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to anybody about this. And I will also tell you, if Bob Teal was wrong, you would be at him right now. I promise you. You would not be giving Bob Teal a pass.
That's a hypothetical. It's a hypothetical.
And
Ray.
I'll have to disagree with you there because I have proof that Mr. Teal had a conflict of interest, but he's not here to defend himself, and I will give him the same consideration that he's never given me. As far as I'm concerned, you know, it's water over the dam for him, but I do have irrefutable proof that he had a conflict of interest.
Fair enough.
So, but, you know, let it go. We have bigger issues in this township coming up.
I do know the good things that you do for this town, and that's, my problem is not with you, and I've said that from the beginning. It was with an action. And those actions that are wrong should have consequences. Now, the consequences could have been as simple as coming out right from the beginning and saying, I was wrong. Hey, I made a mistake. And then, if everybody up there defended you, it would have been a lot more understandable. Because you came out and said, hey, I messed up. We all mess up. I mess up all the time. You think we get everything right when we're working? We don't. But you got to own up to it. And you got to say, hey, I did make a mistake. To this point, you're still kind of sitting up there saying everybody else made the mistakes, but you didn't make any mistakes.
No, he did say it at the office hours. He said, I made a mistake. I remember you saying that.
I may have been gone by that
Okay,
point. I
but
know it got really heated after I left.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
But, you know, you have to at least own what happened, and you're part of it. I understand maybe the lawyer didn't do his job correctly. Maybe the investigator manipulated evidence, and that's how you feel. But at some point, you put yourself in this position. So to take this long to come out and say, hey, I messed up, leaves a lot of doubt in people's minds.
Well, actually, it didn't end until December 6, 2024, till I wrote the letter to the Ethics Commission, the head of the Ethics Commission. She finally got back to me.
And I don't remember when the office hour was, but it was
Yeah, that
like
was
a
couple
month or
weeks
so.
ago. And
Yeah.
actually, I thought the office hours were great because people actually had conversations
Yeah.
without yelling at each other when I was there.
Yeah, I thought it was great too, and we'll do it again. And anybody can come. It's open to the public, and you can ask questions about whatever you like. Anyone else? Ron.
This is a copy, by the way, of the Ethics Commission decision and the Commonwealth Court decision. And it's not the Superior Court, Mr. Friedman. Your appeal would have been to the Supreme Court of the state of Pennsylvania.
I stand corrected.
But I find it amusing. I feel here tonight almost, just getting over bronchitis a few days ago, so maybe my mind isn't quite as good, but I'm thinking I'm in a third world country tonight, like maybe Venezuela. Because I hear you, Mr. Birmingham, say that the attorney, the Ethics Commission, done a lousy job. Okay, maybe they did. I don't believe they did. I've read it. But certainly the Commonwealth Court heard this in its entirety, and it was scandalous, their opinion, as to his amount of guilt. But again, somewhere along the line, we will get to the bottom of many things in this township. And you can rest assured, I'll never give up till I do get to the bottom. You mentioned Mr. Spadoni, and you said you believe, Mr. Friedman, that Mr. Spadoni was something to do with the authority. Is that what you were saying earlier? He represented you? but he maybe had something to do with not the concerned citizens, but maybe the authority?
Yeah.
Okay, so you took an oath when you took the office. You have no knowledge, and you're saying that right now. You have no knowledge of Mr. Spadoni's involvement of any other operations involving the township, concerned citizens, authorities, the park, or whatever. Is that what you're saying? For the
I'm
record?
saying if I did have knowledge, I wouldn't disclose it anyway.
I'm sure you wouldn't.
I'm not going to take ethics advice from...
Mr. Freeman, I'm sure you wouldn't.
I'm not
Okay,
gonna-
and I know why you wouldn't. But I mean, it's my turn.
Finish.
You can answer when I'm done. I'll give you plenty of time, by the way. I'm just getting started. I have read this in its entirety. I really have. And the long and short of it is, you, Mr. Birmingham, because this is your old buddy, Mr. Friedman, you're going to say, well, he's a nice guy, it really wasn't that good. And you are a practicing attorney, I believe. I don't know if it's the state of Pennsylvania or Arizona. I know you're licensed.
Arizona.
Where?
No, New Jersey.
Oh, you're practicing in New Jersey? Okay. So you actually just made a mockery out of the legal system of which you're a member of the bar in the state of New Jersey.
No, I didn't, Ron. I said I disagreed with the court's opinion. Attorneys are allowed to disagree with the outcome.
And did he, Mr. Birmingham, did he not
No,
get
I'm not doing
Did
leading
he
questions, Ron.
Did he not
I'm
get,
not doing
You
leading
can laugh
questions.
and giggle. Let's get down to the business.
Ask
the
your
long and short of
question.
it is, did he not then get a second crack at the apple before the Commonwealth Court? Were they wrong too? And you're saying they didn't do a good job?
I disagree with the decision. I didn't say they didn't do a good job. I said
So
I disagree with the
You don't agree
outcome.
with the decision of the Ethics Commission. You don't agree with the decision of the Commonwealth Court because you don't want to. Can you give me, for instance, why you don't agree with
If a case
it?
goes to the Supreme Court of the United States, it starts out at the trial court level
I don't need a
or
lesson-
the
I don't
district
need a
court.
lesson to how
then
the
it
legal
goes,
system works,
hey,
quite
don't
frankly.
interrupt me. I'm not interrupting you.
You go right
Then
ahead.
it goes to the appeals court or the Court of Appeals. Then it gets up to the Supreme Court. If it goes all the way through and the decision goes against what I believe should be the right outcome, I can disagree with it. That's a First Amendment choice. That's my opinion.
So you're saying you're hanging this on the First Amendment, and the First Amendment, the Constitution, the laws, the state of Pennsylvania, all these means nothing under the First Amendment? Come on, Mr. Birmingham. You're learned in the law. I'm just a common citizen here, and I know better than that. But let's get down to business here again, okay? And I like the fact that you won't answer anything about Mr. Spadoni. There is people who will get to the bottom of that, Mr. Friedman, and it would be told. And I don't suppose you want to tell the people here, the citizens of Mount Bethel, how much you had to pay Spadoni to represent you? No, that's none of my business either. Thank you.
No, I'm not going to be chastised by somebody who forged the will, and Mr. Spadoni prosecuted him.
Did you pay him?
Yes, I paid him.
Okay. Now it's a matter of record. How much did you pay him?
I don't know. I don't have the records in front of me. What difference does it make?
Ron, if you have a
I'll figure this
question,
out someday.
please ask the question.
Yeah, I will ask the questions. So specifically, the attorney for the Ethics Commission, for lack of a better term, you're saying he was incompetent?
No, according to Ms. Fox, he was very competent because he won the case.
He was what?
According to Mary Fox, the commissioner of the Ethics Commission, he was very competent because he won the case, in her opinion.
Can you tell me where I'll find that in the Ethics Commission decision, what you just said?
That came with a phone call I had with her.
Yeah, that's a sidebar phone call. You can make that up. I'm going by the record. This is the record that was filed by the State Ethics Commission. This was the record that was filed by the Commonwealth Court. I don't know who you talk to somebody at a payphone down on Route 33. The bottom line is, like Mr. Higgins said here, the bottom line really is here, and no need I go any further, I don't think, on this, because I think people realize what happened here. The long and short of it is, you're arrogant. And you know what goes with arrogance? You can see it when you're sitting there. I look at you, you're arrogant. You're not going to resign. You don't have to resign, because your buddy's going to take your part for you that you got a bum deal. But you know what? Your credibility with the citizens of Upper Mount Bethel Township is zero, and you know what's really sad about it? You really don't give a damn. Thank you for the opportunity.
And your credibility is good when you forged your will?
Now, you always want to wait when I'm going back. And what did you say?
I don't stutter.
Well, I'm going back. I couldn't hear you back there. You want to take a shot
Let's
on my way
move
back?
on, let's move on, let's move on.
Yeah.
The-
Why don't you resign? Why don't you resign? It's what you said you would do because you're arrogant. That's why you're not resigning.
Mr. Engel, thank you. And the board really appreciates your comments. It may not seem that way, but I can tell you from my experience they do. And we appreciate you coming up anytime to talk about things.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk.
Mike, go ahead. Name and address, please.
Michael Onufrak, 43 Summerfield Drive. We all make mistakes, and we pay a price. I don't have an issue with the fact that the Ethics Board ruled against you, for whatever the reason was. Because to me, the bottom line is, what was the punishment that they mandated if this violation was so severe? And the answer is, there was none. They didn't censor you. They didn't make you pay, as you said, triple damages, nothing. So I don't think the violation is all that important. I think I said to you at the initial meeting that I thought your mistake was that you said that you would resign if you lost the appeal. And you lost the appeal, and you didn't resign. However, you have subsequently explained to us that when you read the decision, you felt the decision wasn't fair, wasn't correct. And that was what made you change your mind about resigning. That was good enough for me. That was good enough for most of us who pay attention to this town's government. No matter what other people may think, who think they speak for the entire town, they don't. I don't have an issue, and I weigh. When we make a mistake, I weigh that mistake versus the other things that somebody has done. And as John has said, the numerous things that you've done, whether officially or unofficially for this town, I think more than outweigh the idea that, well, your word can't be accepted. I don't buy that argument. I have no problem with your word. Your words, your actions are your words. So why they keep harping on the fact that you said you were going to resign and you didn't? We've all said things and then changed our mind and not done what we said we were going to do. So I would hope, Dave, that you listen to them, you move on. This is in the past, and just you continue to do the right thing. And if you don't do the right thing, I think then I agree with others who have said something about a censor, then the board has an obligation to take some sort of action. But if that doesn't happen, there is no need for more action. I think you proved yourself that you made a mistake, and we're moving on from that mistake. I don't have a problem.
Anyone else? Mark?
Mark Metzger, 114 Scenic Court. I find it strange that a lot of people stand up to this microphone and to say how objective they are, yet they all seem to be coming from the same side of the room that has the RPL Lou Pector supporters. Having been a co-victim of one of Bob Thiel's complaints to the Attorney General, I can tell you that I know what it's like to have you put under that microscope and to have to show people that you didn't do anything wrong, only to be further ridiculed by other people in this township who really don't have the smarts or the intelligence to actually know what happened. But that doesn't stop them, because this is all political. And until it stops, they talk about wanting to get together with the other side. Until that rhetoric stops, it's just not going to happen. And I'm really, really bad that it's not going to happen, because with the impending business that could be coming as a result of ABC Company, they're putting it in jeopardy. And that's all there is to it. And if it goes south, we know where to look. It's these people over here that are trying to push so hard to make David look bad, to make this board look bad. And I, for one, am a resident here who am absolutely sick and tired of it. I want it to stop. Thank you.
Anyone else? Is this a question to Supervisor Friedman?
It's a comment and a question. The bottom line is, there was a group one time, very large group, the Concerned Citizens. It's down to this handful over here right now. And they're all blood brothers, all blood sisters, some of them. They will do whatever they have to protect their own. But the gentleman who just spoke, he talks of the Attorney General. He was asked to give an accounting of the foundation, which he's chairman of, which he appointed himself chairman of, and there's no other members. So you want to talk about credibility here?
No,
There is, yeah.
the
I
question's
know,
for
Mr.
Supervisor
yeah,
Friedman.
I'm treading on thin ice with your gang. I understand.
Thank
But
you.
the bottom line is, all this started way back when, and it should have ended tonight if he would have resigned, because that's what he said he would have done. And I hope Mr. Erler does his censure thing again. He did it before. Maybe he'll get the votes.
Anyone else? Guys, go ahead, Charlie.
Charles Cole, 6 Riverton Road. I stand up here saying that I represent probably a vast majority of the citizens, residents of Upper Mount Bethel Township who fully support David Friedman, and I oppose the bull that is being spread around week after week here where we're beating a dead horse. For God's sakes, can't we move on? We have a valuable supervisor who we need, and we're dragging him through the muck. Let's get over it. Let's work together. We support you, David. And 90% of the people in the township do. Thank you.
All right, David wants to wrap this up. David, any last statements?
No, like I said, I think maybe I handled this wrong. And there's always going to be one faction who's going to be for me or against me. But we have bigger and better things to go move forward on. And I hope we can accomplish that. But as far as I'm concerned, the matter's now done. So I thank you for taking 50 minutes of your times.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Friedman. All right, moving on, we'll go to Roman numeral number 5. This is a consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, we have the January 6th meeting minutes, the January 13th meeting minutes, the January 27th meeting minutes, and we have exonerations and refunds. Does anybody want to take any one of these minutes or the exoneration refunds out of the consent agenda and put it on the action agenda? No? Okay, so we'll keep them on the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the items under the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up is the bill list. Nick?
Is this on?
And Nick, I just want to say you guys did a great job on a Saturday with the snow. Fantastic getting the road crew out there.
I did tell the guys that you complimented them. They
Yeah.
did do a good job. They do a good job all the time. How this is working. There you go. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. And the general fund, we spent $191,064.82. Interim bills were $7,422.38. The rec fund, $3,500. Interim bills were $100. The road machinery fund was $4,520. And EIT open space fund was $5,323.80. And the liquid fuels fund, $29,645.05. Just a side note, that's a lot of salt. We're going through a lot of salt this year, way over what we budgeted, but the funds are in the liquid fuels. Lamtech Building Addition, $1,254. Ott Race Minor Subdivision, $139. Snick Lot Line Adjustment, $360. Carter Lot Line Adjustment, $32. Total for the bills this month is $243,361.05. Mr. Chair, can I get a motion to pay the bills?
Okay, do we have a motion to pay the bills? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I currently have 2 questions and 2 things that might need to be addressed. The first one was under Carroll Engineering. The township was billed for $4,422 for an Act 537 revision. Could you tell me what was done? What the revision was?
He's right next to you.
Yes, that was to take a look at where the Act 537 plan currently stands and what would be the next course of action for pursuing an Act 537 update with DEP. So we had to go back, evaluate what information we had last on file. I believe that dates back to 2020, and then basically compare that to where we need to go and put together an action items list to proceed for the Act 537 plan. That was towards the end of last year, as directed by the board.
So you put that action together?
Yes.
So Justin, you could give us an update, maybe at our first meeting in March?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cindy, if we could put that on, please.
And the second question was for the interim bills. 1,000 was spent on feline urban rescue.
Yes.
That's the first time I've seen that.
That was, well, that's always in the budget for an animal rescue, what have you. We decided, Dave and I decided to use that money to give to Paula Potter. She's actually been actively helping out people that have feral cats in the neighborhood. It all occurs on her expense. She spends over $5,000 a year in our township. And similar other townships purchase neutering and spaying vouchers. So I spoke with Dave. I think we should try this as a pilot program and see if this will help her. And we purchased these vouchers from Feline and Fur in Bangor. And that money will only be used for Upper Mount Bethel residents. It's a small, throw in the bucket, but we want to see how that program works, because there is a problem in Upper Mount Bethel with the nation, actually, well, Pennsylvania-wide, but there's no funding, so.
So what account did that 1,000 come out of?
It comes, if you see at the bottom of the budget in the 400 accounts, you'll see there's $1,000 every year as donations. So we donated it to her to see how this pilot program would work. It's been budgeted every year, but it wasn't spent because there was no animal. Actually, we're going to be talking about it actually probably today. So, but there was always $1,000 allotted for that in the budget. She does a great job, and she does it on her free time. See how that program works, and I'm always in touch with her, and I think it's a good thing for the community.
Okay. The 2 issues that I see that the assessment presents is, as of February 7th, we have already exceeded 105% of the overtime for our snow removal, and that is without this last snowstorm and the one that we're soon to be expecting. And 90% of our entire snow and ice removal budget was spent in a single month. Since this is something that's very critical and unpredictable, perhaps we can plan a little bit better for next year, but I think we need to throw money into that account, or
There is
how
money.
would that be remedied?
Like I said, there is money, and the liquid fuels account is where we're paying our salt. We have about $180,000 sitting in that account, and I don't know if you know, but in this area in the Northeast, salt is hard to find. We just sent Jimmy Potter down there today to get salt, and they told him he got one load, and then they told him that's it for today. We're getting 600 ton delivered this week, and that's the end of our allotment from our Co-Stars program that we have that we use from the state. And just as you said, John, it's unpredictable. Last year we had a weak winter, we saved a lot of money. This year, our obligation to the community is to keep the roads safe, and I'm going to continue to do that. If you don't want me to do that, you tell me.
No, I'm just looking at the labor and the
It's
overtime.
labor intensive.
That's what's stood
Yeah,
out largely to me.
It's duly noted, it's labor intensive, and guys are working there, and all the storms are falling on Sundays contractually. We are obligated to pay them double time. I can't tell them to stay home and wait till Monday to do the roads. People have to get, EMS got to get out, something happens, we got to take care of the roads, it's our obligation. There is money that we can move, and we will be moving it.
Okay.
There is money that's sitting in the highway department that, I planned ahead. I've been in this highway business for 20 years. I get it. But I just had a phone call today from PennDOT. Now to get salt, you got to go through the EMS service, the emergency management of each county, which is ours, Northampton County. You got to go through them. They go to PEMA, and then from PEMA it goes to the PennDOT to see if they can give us salt. You just can't go to PennDOT and say, I need salt, I'm out of salt. But we're in good shape. We planned ahead. We got contracts that we had. This next 2 storms or 3 storms, we should be fine. Other townships aren't. Well, Bethlehem, I just found out Bethlehem, they're running an lurch because they don't have salt. Is it their fault? Nobody predicts, you can't predict the future, but you try to plan ahead. But it is labor intensive and it's an expense. And these guys are doing a great job, doing it just as our chairman said. They're doing a great job. They're tired, but they're doing the job. And, it's just an obligation that we have to everybody in this township, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Bless you.
Okay. I was just pointing attention to it so that we
Well,
can.
we're well aware of it.
So
I
we can
appreciate
move
that, John.
funds
We're
to
well aware. I watch it every day. I'm on the phone all day. Cindy will tell you, in the morning I call, I say, hey, we got a call from American Rock Salt, and we did. I kept calling her. Cindy gave me the number, and we're finally getting that delivery. But that's it. That's our allotment. We have 1,400 ton. We went through 1,000 already, and we're getting another 600, and that's it. We probably can't get any more from them, so we're gonna have to go other avenues to find it. But we have anti-skid, and we have clear lane. We have abundance of that. And now that as we're getting closer to the spring, we're on the other end of the winter, it's warmer during the day, so that you don't need as much salt, so we could use anti-skid, because the Mother Nature will melt the snow. But at night, you still need salt,
Well,
so.
I'm also having
We're
in mind
adjusting.
that December of this year, 2025, is still, not even close. Okay, well, the other thing I'd like to point attention to is we're currently projected to be under budget for zoning. For the month of January, zoning has consumed 18.7% of budget, since this is an ongoing occurrence, and that's for wages of code enforcement.
For December?
For January.
For
Did I say
January?
December?
I don't follow that one. She hasn't had a zoning hearing yet.
What page are you on, John?
Page blah, blah, blah.
Of the budget?
It is under 414000. First one is 414120, wages, zoning, building, and code enforcement. We're currently at 18.7% of total budget.
I don't see what you're talking about.
During the reorg,
Yeah.
I tried to explain that our zoning
Hold on, John, I'll get to it.
is currently almost twice as much as other municipalities related to the PSTATS 2024 survey, which 75% pay $32.45, and we currently pay.
So you're talking about her bill?
Yeah.
That's for 2 months. That's from December and January. So some of it's from December, and the remainder is from January. So I don't have a breakdown of the bill. I can get that for you. If I'll let everybody move on. I have the bills over here. I can go over that with you. But that's two bills. If I'm not mistaken, I think January was like 3,000, but I'll confirm it with you. But that's part of that bill is from December.
Okay, well, that's another thing that I'd like to make sure we keep an eye on, forecasting and catching and adjusting early, in case need be. I'm trying to keep in mind that the multi-municipal plan that we just voted for is probably going to involve her, along with the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission.
Could you speak up a little so we can hear what you're saying?
I'm trying to keep in mind now that we have to be planning for the multi-municipal plan, and I'm trying to see if there's enough budgeted, because I'm expecting our zoning officer to take part in some of the planning with the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. A municipal plan that, as you know, and I've asked at that meeting that they couldn't even tell us the price for. I understand, Ron. All right, well, if that's for December and January, then the 18.7
Yeah, give me
isn't
time, John.
just for January.
I have the bills here.
That struck me as concerning,
Yeah.
since that's an ongoing thing every single month.
I had the same comment you did to Diane when I got the bill, just to let you know, but it was for 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah. But I have the bills here, but I don't want to keep everybody waiting. I can give it to you when we take a break or whatever.
All right, thanks.
I don't think we got a vote though, right?
What's
I
that?
don't think you voted yet, right?
No, I know.
Okay.
Any other questions from the supervisors? Okay, we've got a motion on the floor to pay the bills. It's been seconded. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Nick. Next up is new business holding tank ordinance. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. This is the first draft of the holding tank ordinance I prepared, which I got the okay to do from you right now. It's about 2 months ago I was here. So that's the first draft for your review and comment. Like all ordinances, Mr. Karasek will go to Lehigh Valley Planning Commission for any comments. Pretty thorough. Our neighboring communities had some really good examples that they've already drafted. So
Can you explain, Scott, to the people, especially the ones listening from home, what this holding tank ordinance, the purpose for it?
the purpose is for permitting future holding tank applicants that may come along. It's a rare request. It's a rare application, but it does happen. It covers holding tanks, retaining tanks, privies. Believe it or not, you can still get a permit to put an outhouse on your property under the right conditions and permitting process. It also outlines all the requirements requirements for long-term maintenance and assurance that, regulations will be carried out, and et cetera. Proper inspections and so on.
Okay.
Again, it's not going to come along very often, but it's just something we should have in place.
Yeah. Any questions from the supervisors?
Yeah, Scott, how many holding tanks do we have in the township? How many are there currently? Just like a handful?
None that I know of.
None, yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, so this, Ron, our next steps with this ordinance would,
This is the first time I'm seeing it, so I would like to have an opportunity to look at it and not necessarily tweak it, but at least make some comments on it so that the supervisors then have that information in front of them. I'm not sure if you would want the engineer or any other professional to comment, and then when you have that information in front of you, you can then go to the next step, which is to say, okay, this is what we want, this is not what we want, we'll change this, we'll add this, and then it can, with those changes, and assuming they're all approved, it can then be advertised.
okay. Yeah, I think Justin taking a look at this would be helpful.
Okay.
Any comments for that from any of the supervisors?
No, motion to table this until.
Yeah.
Just one more thing, John.
Yeah.
Scott, would you say that the enforcement of this would come from the SEO after?
Oh, yes.
After the application's
yes.
passed? Okay.
Okay, do we have a motion to table this for now until we hear back from Ron and our township engineer?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate your time, and thanks for the draft.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Okay, next up is committee chairperson meeting. Supervisor Erler.
This is something that we spoke about last year, and nothing ever happened with it. So I like to put it forward again, officially, and try and get each chairperson and maybe a vice chair of each of our, what do we have now? 8 committees, yeah.
I don't know if we have 8, but somewhere around there, yeah.
So I'd like to get everyone together, and as Stavros now knows, as he's on Parks and Rec, and he was trying to sell banner space, he went to the EDC, and EDC, Ray Higgins actually, got it done in a matter of days. So by working together, we can accomplish more with the township, and it will let a lot of people know more of what's going on as the full spectrum. So I think that the committees assisting other committees might be a good help for the things that we need to achieve.
So is this like a committee that's going to work with the other committees?
I was thinking more of just having, now that the positions have been set, maybe like March 10th, and then again, if it's successful and people are working together, we can have another one December to go over what went through for the year.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit earlier than that, but just to run ideas back and forth, open up lines of communication between various committees, try and find out what the strong suits are, what people are working on, and maybe have some
That's a great idea.
interplay.
Yeah. Do you want to schedule the meeting? Do you want to take that?
Well, I was looking at March 10th, as we don't have a supervisor meeting, it's a Monday, and that is an open date to be a first one. I'm going to have to reach out to each of the committees. March 10th there is?
Yeah, because February 20.
So you could do the first Monday or the third Monday. You could do No, the 17th
Oh.
is St. Patty's Day. That goes against my religion. So we could do March 3rd or
How about the last day in March, so I can give enough time to the different committees?
3/24?
3/31.
Oh, the very last day. Okay, perfect.
And I'd like to know if there's another supervisor who would like to sit in with me while organizing this, if anyone has any interest.
If none of the other supervisors want to do it, I'm happy to do it.
Great. So I'll reach out to the chairpersons of each committee and let everyone know.
Okay. Okay, thank you Supervisor Erler. Moving on, next up, action items is Bo's banner. This is in regards to the Bo Festival that is going to be taking place at the Upper Mount Bethel Community Park. I believe it's May 3rd, Corey?
Yeah, and then there's a rain date, 17th, I believe
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
right. The 17th is the rain date. This is for the Kelly family. Bo Kelly tragically passed away at the age of 4. He had a heart condition, just a tragic event, and his parents would like to build a park in his name, because Bo loved parks. And they're looking to build the park at Mount Bethel Church, and the Kelly family is trying to raise money. So they're having an event at the Upper Mount Bethel Community Park. It's May 3rd. What I would like us to do township-wise, Jim Kelly, and we have the meeting tomorrow, said he could get a banner donated describing the event, and I would like the township to be able to display it over Route 611, where we, right by the firehouse, where we have done banners in the past. And Nick, talking to you, we have to get a permit.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Justin, I think we probably have to get a permit for that.
What's that?
We have to get a permit for that to put that.
So
in
I was
611.
going to ask Jeff of the Transportation Advisory Committee if they would work on getting the permit for the actual banner. That would be great.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so yeah, I'll make sure, Corey and I will make sure tomorrow that the banner's getting donated, so it's no cost. But I think it's great advertisement. We've done it in the past, and it's something I'd even like Corey to talk to the Park and Rec Committee about, is doing a banner for the 4th of July. Are you guys thinking about that?
We've done them.
Yeah. Yeah.
The banners across 611, as we've seen, get destroyed.
Yeah.
So they have to be of a certain quality to sustain more weather, prolonged wind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can be done, it's a cost.
Yeah, so Corey will talk to the Park and Rec Committee about that, but I'd like to do it for Bo's Festival, so any issue from the supervisors regarding that? Okay, great, thanks. And Jeff, I'll reach out to you. Okay, next up are tabled items. First one up is Property Maintenance Officer. We have been discussing this in the past. It's kind of gone top priority, low priority, it's fallen off, but it's something we need to discuss again. And whether, I know, Nick, you've been in the position, right? So if you want to kind of just explain to the people here and the people listening at home what the role of the property maintenance officer is and your feelings on whether we should think about getting that position open again.
Basically,
Oh, you need a mic.
Basically, the property maintenance officer assists the zoning officer, but actually, I'm, feet on the ground here. I'm here, so Tina is not always around, but I would assist her if there's an issue, complaints, going out to talk to the residents and try to figure out a resolution to complaints and whatever the issues are, everything. That's basically what a you don't need to be, property maintenance officer doesn't need to be certified in anything because you're working under the code enforcer, so, but you are considered a code official. And you use the property maintenance, I don't know, we still haven't approved, I think it's 2006 is the one we're still working on. So basically, you just work out of that one book, and unfortunately, sometimes you have to find residents. When I was doing it, I'd only find one person, and it was, they sold their home and they left and ended up being a better building for 611, and the community was satisfied with it. It all worked out. But on the other end, do we need another property maintenance officer? We could always use help, obviously. I've been kind of like co-opting it myself, getting involved with any kind of issues, go out with Tina and speak to the residents. We're working on one now, obviously with a burn on Orchard. But just so we didn't have to get another property maintenance officer. Do we need another one? Probably, we need something because we're growing the township, but we also have a police that we're talking about. Do we need both? I don't think we need both, in my opinion, one or the other. But it's a matter of the Board of Supervisors and what direction they want to go to. And basically, it was a part-time position, 25 hours a week, but it ended up being a full-time because I was actually like assistant manager, park and property maintenance officer at the same time. So I don't think we would go in that direction, but it's up to the Board of Supervisors what direction they want to go to. Me personally, I'm kind of, full disclosure, I'm leaning more towards a part-time police department than a property maintenance officer. I think that would be more advantageous to the community, just to have a little bit more of a force, as I'm seeing it as township manager, and the complaints and the state police are, they're understaffed, and we have a good, they're great when they show up, but sometimes they're not in the vicinity. It takes time for them to respond, and sometimes they won't respond to, technically they won't respond to any ordinance violations, which is a deterrent. So we need, if we had our own police department, that would help, but also they could also enforce the speeding on 611, which the state police have been doing more due diligence on 611 and 512. I've seen them out there, and people have come to me, said that they are more visible. So, but that's my opinion, John. I mean, my personal opinion. I think that it's basically up to the Board of Supervisors.
Any thoughts from other supervisors on what Nick is saying? He's saying property maintenance officer or part-time police, and it looks like property maintenance officer would be a part-time position as well.
It's always always has been.
Yeah.
It's just that the former chair wanted me to get more involved, so
Yeah.
they extended it to 40 hours.
Yeah. So it's something that we should think about which direction we want to go. We don't have to make a decision tonight, but we put it on as a future agenda item. So maybe Cindy, let's revisit this end of March, and by that time, let's figure out, do we want to go property maintenance officer route or part-time police route? Yes, Ron?
I'm here on a pretty regular basis. People come in all the time bringing up this property maintenance business. But the best one of all is you've got a full-blown junkyard in North Bangor. Not just a property maintenance situation. You have abandoned cars, you have a full-blown junkyard, and the best as I recall, there's only one junkyard permit in all of Upper Mount Bethel Township right across the street.
Yeah.
So you talk about needing a property maintenance officer? You need a big-time property maintenance officer
That's
there.
been a problem for several boards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we could put that on, Cindy, for the 24th, please. Any other questions or concerns about property maintenance officer?
If a part-time police department will handle that, I think that's also the way to go. We're putting up road signs, we're doing other restrictions that don't have enforcement. We're currently taking bids from other police departments to try and get them in, just to see if it's reasonable, and if that will satisfy this position, if they can do that job. I think that's a better fit.
So on the 24th, can we put property maintenance officer / part-time police? Because I think that's the decision that we're going to be making. Anyone else? Okay, thanks. And then next up is animal control officer. This is whether we want to talk about having an animal control officer for Upper Mount Bethel Township. Currently, we have, the county provides one for us, but do we, like Nick was saying earlier with the cats, we get issues periodically. We had the horse issue not too long ago, but do we want to think about an animal control officer for Upper Mount Bethel Township?
There is
Yeah.
there is a dog warden, right, for the county?
Yeah.
But you'll only come out for complaints
Yeah.
of dogs that are running on other people's property unleashed and things like that.
Yeah, it's something to think about. We do have animal issues periodically here, and then we have to call the county, and then, like you said, they'll only come out if it falls under a certain requirement for them to respond. So thoughts from the other supervisors?
No, I think we do need one. I don't know if we can try to get, Christine back.
Is she around anymore?
I
Yeah,
believe
she's
she
around.
is.
Yeah,
Yes.
I talk to her periodically.
Yeah, no, I believe she is.
I'll reach out to her.
See if she's interested.
Okay.
I think there would be more, I think people just don't call in or do anything because there's nobody.
Yeah.
Everybody tries to do it on their
There
own.
is, the SPCA cops that, Kate, I have her number, she'll respond. She responded to, East Bangor Road there, that was going on for 2 years.
Yeah.
And they were involved in it. They will get involved. She's the one that brought up about the felines too, because it's just a problem everywhere in the country.
Oh,
in the
it is.
state.
I mean, my parents donate their own time and money
Yeah,
and
it's a
trap and
costly-
release and,
Yeah.
get them fixed, and that's on their dime just to try to make it better. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Fur's great to work with.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to do.
Okay, let me reach out to Christine and I'll report back. Okay, that being said, we're Roman numeral 10 is executive session. We will go into executive session. We do have litigation matters that we have to discuss with our solicitor. So we will be in executive session, and then we'll come out and let you know if there'll be any motions or action items from executive session. So we'll go into adjournment for now. It's 8:25, and we will return. Oh. Just woke everybody up. We're calling this meeting back into order. It's 8:55 p.m. We went into executive session. Ron?
Yes, we went into executive session on litigation matter involving the burning ordinance citations that were issued against Mr. Stein and Dr. Zuppeth. There were magisterial district judge hearings today held on those cases. The judge did not issue a decision, but that's what we discussed in executive session.
Okay, that being said, there's no action items coming out of executive session. Moving on, we're going to do announcements. Nick, we'll start with you, please. Okay, Supervisor Albert. Supervisor Friedman.
None at this time.
Supervisor Ekman.
Not at this time.
Supervisor Erler.
Oh, of course. The website is up for those who haven't seen it yet. Good job, Stavros. Yeah, it's clean and well organized. The Stop the Bleed and Hands Only CPR flyers were at the podium, correct, Cindy? That will be March 11th at the Mount Bethel Fire Hall, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And, oh, March. What did I say? This is commenting on Ant's Tree Service. I think they did a wonderful job on Allegheny Road and tackled a few other problematic trees for the town. It was resources well spent. Many citizens were thankful for the ash tree wood that was left behind and immediately used it to heat their homes. Perhaps we can consider using them for preventative maintenance tree work on River Road, as well as it has caused other power outages and road closures. So we can consider that for the future. And the last announcement is bird flu is in our area, and it has been for weeks now. Might be common sense, but if it's not, please use gloves, a mask. If you find any dead birds or any other animals, disposing of them in a plastic bag, and it is recommended to use more than one plastic bag for disposal. That's all I have.
Thank you, Supervisor Erler. Cindy. Ron.
Nothing.
Cindy. Ron. All right. Just a couple for me. So we are going to have a town hall. This is the planned slate-built municipal agreement that we were discussing earlier tonight. It's going to be Friday, February 21st at 7 p.m. It'll be right here in the garage. 7 p.m. Our consultant that we have with ABC Company, he's going to be coming here at our next supervisor meeting. That's February 24th. He's going to come introduce himself, talk about his qualifications. He'll answer questions, probably be like a question or two from each, whatever resident wants to ask. We're not going to do a grilling session, but if you have questions for him, you can ask him questions. We're moving forward on the emergency shelter. We got the LSA grant for the emergency shelter. Our grant writer, Ron, has said now we need a cooperation agreement between the township and Mount Bethel Fire Company. Do you want me to put you in touch with our grant writer?
Yeah, that would be helpful so I can see exactly what he's looking for, because I've done a number of cooperation agreements, but they can say all different things. So
Okay.
If he can zero in on what they are looking for, we can surgically prepare an agreement that, does the trick.
Okay, thanks. There is an ambulance meeting. It'll be March 20th. As of right now, at the Mount Bethel Firehouse, we're going to have Suburban and Centronia are both coming to this meeting, and they're going to talk about, it's an informational meeting, and they're going to talk about various options that we have in terms of ambulance coverage.
It's all no matter what.
And then the community-wide yard sale, I'm starting to get questions from residents. When is it? It'll be this spring. So Cindy, at our next meeting on the 24th, if you could just put community-wide yard sale. Start thinking of dates, supervisors, and then we'll pick a date at our next supervisor meeting. Last year we did it, I think it was around April or May, but somewhere around there is a good time to pick. And we do it Saturday, Sunday. We do it both weekend days.
With a rain date too, right?
Yeah, with the rain date as well. Stavros' website looks great. Thank you. Code Red, Cindy, fantastic with your updates. Supervisor Erler, one thing I'd like to sit down and talk to you about is talking with both our fire departments and seeing about a possible stipend for them in order to recruit more volunteers. So I'll reach out to you and we can talk about that.
Okay.
Okay.
There's grants for retainment.
Oh, that'd be great. You can, I'll call you and get information. Okay, fantastic. Otherwise, that's it. That's it for me. Yeah. I think, I don't know if there is a 60-day, but when I asked Becky when she was here, I said, what is our way out? If for some reason we get into this and it doesn't work out or we feel it's not a best move for Upper Mount Bethel, she said to me you could just pass a resolution and get out of it.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a 60-day window. Mr. Engel could be right about that, but in any event, you can certainly, I would think, even if you don't have a 60-day, or even if there is a 60-day window, if things occur and circumstances change or are unexpected, et cetera, I would think you could pass a resolution and say, we're not doing it, see you later.
Yeah.
I think it's only back towards 180, 183, something like that. Page 180 or 180.
Okay. But I would agree that if in fact the township thinks it may not want to do it, it should make that decision sooner than later.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ron.
Mr. Friedman, since you're on the steering committee, can you bring that information? Do you have it?
Hey, Dave.
Do you have the information of the cost? Since you're on the steering committee, was that ever brought up at a Lehigh Valley Planning Commission? She actually said at the day of the vote that it wasn't changed, and I heard otherwise, but.
Yes, Stavros. Hold on, Ron. Hold on. It's going to be here in the garage. Yeah, please. Thanks, Stavros. February 21st, Friday night, 7 p.m., followed up by drinks and dancing afterwards. How about that? I'm not buying. Ron, can you come up to the mic, please?
You should have at your disposal the actual cost that it's going to cost you to participate in Plan Slate Belt.
Okay.
And Becky Braley gave you none of that, and I pointed out to you before about LVEDC, and I'll give you just an example. Your ABC company, which we all know who it is, but anyway, LVEDC was trying to get that company away from here and down into the valley. So if you're wondering where the allegiance of that operation is, that's where the allegiance is. So LVEDC is very connected to Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. I know I served on the Planning Commission. But you should absolutely have at your disposal the actual cost it will cost you to participate, because there's many things you're going to have to change in your regulations and a whole bunch of other stuff if you're going to do this.
Okay. Thank
It's
you,
not-
Ron.
You know, the simple thing I gave you before was what's the benefits and what's the cost and what's the problems. There's a lot of problems, but I still don't see the benefits of playing slate ball. But you ought to have those numbers.
The benefits are
I
for
should have thought Mr.
the
Freeman
smaller
had-
boroughs. They make out like bandits on this deal.
Thank you. Yes, very good. Yes, you're correct. You know, you and I might agree more often once in a while, but you're absolutely right about that. But again, Plainfield and Penargil, Plainfield's out now. Penargil had twice as many people who were interviewed as to what they wanted and didn't want, and you might be interested to know that the end result was, if you read all the documents, is people really weren't interested that much in farmland preservation. They were interested, I have to go back and get my notes, but little vegetable farms and animal stuff, and they really weren't interested in preservation. But then later on, they did come up with, well, being there's going to be only so much farmland in the end, in the slate belt, and it'll be one farm here, two farms there, that they would have cartways somehow, I don't know how they would do this, to connect the farmers to the fields so that they could still farm. I got to tell you, the planned slate belt isn't. You have a headache, Mr. Solicitor?
Excuse me?
I see you were like, I thought maybe you had a headache because.
No, I'm
Tell
just-
us how you feel, Ron.
I'm soaking in. I'm soaking in what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's very important stuff.
It is.
All right, thanks. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second? Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.